Hi, I'm Flora, and welcome to the first episode of VRHopes TV, what I hope will become your place of choice to meet the great leaders in the virtual reality industry. Today we're going to talk about AltspaceVR, a fabulous social and communications app that allows you to hang out with people in virtual reality. AltspaceVR offers beautiful rooms and landscapes where you can go and meet people. You will most likely meet strangers, but you can also invite your friends and family. And while you're there, there's a ton of activities you can do together, such as playing chess, watching YouTube videos, Netflix movies, or even participate in one of their events. They host comedy nights, open nights, game competitions, and so much more. My guest today is Bruce Wooden, Head of Developer and Community Relations at AltspaceVR. Better known by his alias Thematic Bruce, he has been dubbed a VR evangelist and an influencer in the VR developer community. Bruce and I met earlier this week in AltspaceVR to have this interview in virtual reality. I hope that you will enjoy our chat. Bruce, welcome to VRHopes TV, and what an honor it is to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So before we delve more into AltspaceVR, my first question is about your own journey. You have a long-standing passion for virtual reality, and I'm just curious to know how it all got started for you.
Absolutely. My first exposure was arcade machine in San Francisco, virtuality arcade machines. I wasn't very impressed as a teenager, but I was very excited about the prospect, with Matrix movies and things like that. But really, like in this modern era, it really started when I, by happenstance, stumbled upon a forum where there was a lot of very intelligent people talking about virtual reality seriously. It was very interesting to check out. This is on the meant to be seen 3D forums actually, and that's kind of where a lot of this whole stuff started with Palmer Luckey and Oculus. So it was first day on the Kickstarter. I'd started a little dev blog, and I'd kind of vowed to make some really good videos once I got my dev kit. It was the early dev kit, because all the videos they were making were pretty lackluster. They were just like, wow, it was awesome, and it was like a 2-second video, and you're like, no, but talk about things more. And so it became a real a real community need to really delve into some questions about design and what the experience was like. So I made a couple videos, and those videos blew up on YouTube. They got thousands, like tens of thousands of views, when the community was only a few tens of thousands of people big. So I became kind of well known in the VR community, and it just kept going. Kept going on. I made videos, and I found myself giving a few talks at a few places. Co-founded Silicon Valley Virtual Reality, the meetup group, which has been very successful, and we're actually having our third conference coming up very soon. Very exciting stuff. So that's happening, and through all those connections, ran into the AltspaceVR founders and joined them pretty much right at the beginning of Altspace, before it was even called Altspace even. But yeah, so that's kind of been a gradual ramp up. From first interacting with the technology, I was like very compelled, and I was like, oh man, I eventually do want to pivot and have my career be in this field. But it happened much faster than even I expected. There's just opportunities kept popping up, and kept taking advantage of them, and now I'm a recognized guy in VR circles, and it's still wild to process. I think even at this point, I'm still taking it all in. Been so busy, it's one thing to the next thing, and every now and then I take a step back and like, whoa, this is really quite remarkable.
Well, now is definitely an exciting time to be working in virtual reality. Now let's talk about Outspace VR. Bruce, my first question to you is, why a social and communications app? Virtual reality is still a video game dominated industry. And I'd like to know where the idea of Altspace VR come from.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been interesting to see how virtual reality has its start in this hardcore gamer space, because those are the people that kind of have the technology to power the premium experience. But I think with AltSpace in general, there was a lot of research done in the beginning on, what kind of thing is this going to be? And it kind of came out of this idea where Eric Romo, one of the co-founders, he went around to a lot of his industrial design buddies, and he was like, "Hey, how would you use this VR platform or VR medium?" And they're like, "Well, I wouldn't use it for AutoCAD or designing stuff. I've been doing that for 20 years in 2D, but it would be very helpful to be able to meet with my manufacturing guy in China and my biz dev guy that's in Chicago." And talk with them over the same model that we're all looking at in 3D and VR. And that was kind of a very an eye opener to the kind of the concept of what can VR be used for outside of the gaming space. I think for me personally, it was a modification to the popular game Minecraft. A few years back with the first dev kits. And that was really my first multiplayer VR experience. And it hit me as I experienced that. And even though, the graphics were horrible, everything's very abstract. I mean, in Minecraft, everything is essentially cubes. And even with that aesthetic, I was totally immersed and totally having meaningful conversations with people. And that was really when a lightning bolt struck off like, wow, this is definitely something to watch, that no matter what a person is into, they're definitely going to want to hang out together in VR with other people, just like you'd like to hang out together with other people in real life. So I think that's kind of the genesis of those ideas that Minecraft mod convinced me. But in general, in alt space, it was that concept of once people had a look at the technology in the professional fields, they were like, it would be great to be with other people here and leverage what's unique about VR there.
I want to add something here for our listeners. So, the technology is becoming better and better at capturing body language, and that is crucial to make communication in virtual reality feel real. For instance, I'm using Samsung Gear VR, which mostly only tracks my head movement. But Bruce, you're using the HTC Vive, and not only it tracks your head movement, but with your handles, I can see your hand gestures. I can see how you speak with your hands. And so all that together, the body language that comes through your avatar really tricks my brain into thinking that you're right here, like next to me, and we're having this conversation.
Yeah, it is definitely. I mean, we've had a kind of a philosophy at AltspaceVR that we don't show what we don't track. But when you get that right, when you actually are showing exactly what you're tracking, and it's very human in the way people move when they move their heads, even the very small motions, or you can kind of get a sense of where my arms are because of where the controllers are. And one other cool thing about the Vive is that I can physically walk through my room space, so I can walk around. And even the sense if I get close to you and give you like, oh, I'll give you a hug. But yeah, it's definitely, even with these abstract avatars that look, nothing like a photorealistic human. It's still, there's a lot that comes across in the way they move.
Okay, so let's talk about Altspace VR now. So we are in one of the rooms, which is beautiful, by the way. It looks like the sun is coming down, and I see screens on the walls. Bruce, can you tell us more about the different rooms and what can people do when they come here?
The focus of Altspace VR is really for people to connect, right? And usually when people connect in real life, it's over doing things. So there's been a real focus on that. So right here in this space is actually a room we use for our VR art gallery. We have an app that taps live into a person's Tumblr page and pulls up art in real time and puts that art on the web around the space. And then we can have that artist in here to talk about their creative process or talk about each piece. Web, which is very neat. Of course, you have kind of like mini games that are all over the place with our JavaScript SDK. So there's like air hockey, there's like a little building blocks app, little things that people can mess with and talk over, which is pretty neat, like playing chess or checkers or things like that. So kind of small games. We've gone in on some tabletop experiences too. So the indie card game Boss Monster. There's the tabletop Dungeons and Dragons, which we did with partnership with Wizards of the Coast. So you can have a D&D game, which people on average spend 3 to 5 hours for each campaign, each session that they do, which is really exciting for us that they're staying in VR that
Wow.
long. And we also have
Wow.
a real focus on events. So we actually put on events right now that people can attend, and users can actually create their own events too. And so far, we've had stand-up comedy, improv comedy. I've had like tech talks and panels of experts and developers in different subjects. We've had a game, kind of a game show, pub quiz type thing, we call Sketchy Quiz, kind of a Pictionary spinoff called Sketch Off, which has been really fun. They have a disc golf, like a frisbee golf experience that people can toss a frisbee around together and get them into portals. There's a humongous labyrinth, like a maze, the jungle maze we call it, that people can get lost in the maze. So we've been definitely exploring to see like, hey, what kind of things are people going to like to do in VR together? So there's been a lot of experimentation, throwing things at the wall and seeing, hey, what kind of things that people like to spend time together.
For people who try AltspaceVR for the first time, how would you recommend that they get started?
So we have some options. Some people are like, hey, I just want to see what's going on in AltSpace today. And they start in the welcome space where people gather. And then from there, you have lots of different choices that you can go and check out. They're just public spaces that you just go in, or you can decide to meet there with friends like, hey, we're going to meet at this event, or hey, I'll see you in the air hockey room and we're going to play air hockey and have a little mini tournament. If you're in VR, it's very immersive. You're able to look around. You're in the space there. You can sense where other people are in the space, which is very important.
What if people would like to submit ideas of activities they would like to do in AltspaceVR? Is there a place where they can do that?
Yeah, for all people that try AltSpace, they usually do have ideas like that. Right now, it's just submitting it through our support channels. Like, hey, I have an idea, and we definitely take in that user feedback and use it to direct our decisions for sure. But the emphasis right now is not necessarily on user created spaces, but we definitely listen very carefully to suggestions. But if those people are developers, we actually do have that opportunity for them to use our JavaScript SDK to create experiences or mini games, or we actually will shortly have a space where it's totally blank and you can just put something in there that you design or program using our SDK.
Now, I would like to talk about your new mobile app, VR Call, that I think was released less than a month ago. So the way I understand it is, whereas AltspaceVR offers public spaces for people to interact, VR Call is made for people to have private conversations. Now, can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, it's kind of making that connection or making that connection with people a lot easier. So say if you have a Gear VR and you have your phone that goes with that Gear VR, you can download the AltSpace VR Android app from the Google Play Store. With that app, you can open it up, you can check out what's going on in AltSpace, but you can also create a VR call. And what that means is like, hey, I'm going to create this VR call. I'm going to tap the space I want us to meet in, and then it pops up with your phone's contact list. So you can send a text to anyone on your phone's contact list, or if you want to use some other means, you can share that link like via Twitter or Skype or Slack or any messenger, any number that you can share with. So basically, it sends that other person a link, and they get it on their phone. They click that link and boop, put in their Gear VR. It takes them directly to the space to meet you, and you push the button to go, I want to go now. I'm ready. Enter, and boop, you put it in your Gear VR, and they're there.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from people so far?
Yeah, so far it's been going pretty well. People have overall positive reactions. They really like the ability to invite people. It's something people have asked for, especially Gear VR users, when they might have a friend or family member that also has a Gear VR, and they're really hungry for a way to easily connect with them.
That's great. Now, what's next? What should we be on the lookout for coming from you guys?
Oh yeah. Well, right now we're definitely working on some ways to expand the experiences that we already have. So we have some apps that are on the way, which are very cool. People developers have been busy designing some more fun games and experiences for people to enjoy. So those have been releasing actually over the coming weeks, which should be exciting. Everyone at AltspaceVR is really passionate about virtual reality and is just full to the brim with ideas about what to do next. That's exciting for us.
Well, that leads me to my last question, which is where can people find you? And so the first part of the question is on which devices can people use to go in Outspace VR? And then if they want to follow you online, how can they do so?
Awesome. So one of the special things about AltspaceVR is it's cross-platform. So if you have an HTC Vive, an Oculus Rift, TK2 or CV1, Gear VR, or even 2D mode with no VR headset, you can get AltspaceVR and you'll be together with all the other people that are using all this different type of hardware, which is really cool. Yeah, you can find us a couple places. You can go to Steam. We're actually on Steam, the game platform, and you can get Altspace VR there. You can search for us. That's very straightforward. You can go to our website, altvr.com, and you can download a build directly from there. And that's for for the PC builds. If you have Gear VR, you can find us in the Oculus store on Gear VR, and also to get the VR Call app, you're going to want to look for Altspace VR in the Google Play Store, and that'll pop up with the app there. And if you have any questions or problems, is help.altvr.com is the spot to go. If you just want to, be like, hey, you guys are awesome, or what's going on, you can tweet us at AltspaceVR, and we're there as well. So we have lots of places for you to interact with the team, ask questions, and find out what's going on in Altspace.
Well, Bruce, that brings us to the end of the interview. I just want to thank you so, so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
All right, thank you so much. It was awesome to talk to you as well. This has been great. Well, thank you.